Another thing we have to remind sellers a lot about is that the market never actually dies. It ebbs and flows. However, it never completely dies. And that's because life continues in spite of the season, in spite of the calendar. That People die, people get married, people get divorced, people change jobs. All sorts of life happens that causes people to have to move. So if your home is not on the market, I promise you, you're missing opportunities with those buyers that are out that are uber desperate. Hi, and welcome to Talking Realty, the go-to podcast for home sellers looking to save money, save time, and avoid headaches. Whether you're selling a flip, a new build, an income property, or the place you call home, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Glen Whitten, 20-year realtor and founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we help home sellers get the most out of their properties when they sell. Most home sellers hate paying huge commissions to realtors. At the Ohio Property Group, we do all the same things as other realtors, but instead of charging a massive commission, we do everything for a low, flat fee. And by the way, that fee is not based on the price of the home. So, our sellers save thousands of dollars and they get better results. To learn more, head over to talkingrealty.com, where you can sign up for our free newsletter or pick up any of our free home seller tools. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Talking Realty Podcast so you never miss a thing. Now, let's get to it. So in today's episode, if you've ever said to yourself, you know what, this is just not a good time to sell. This is bad. We're off season. We are, it's the holidays are coming up. You name it. Any reason you could have to say that this is a bad time to sell, you need to stick around for today's episode, because in today's episode, we're going to dispel you of that myth with truth number 5. The last few episodes, we've been going through our top office truths, and so I'd like to continue that process. Today is truth number 5. Every day is a good day to sell a house. This one actually came out of a situation that happened some years back. Like most of my situations, pretty much everything in my life appears to be some years back. But anyway, I got a call from a guy named Bill. Let's call him Bill. Actually, that's his real name, but I'm not going to use his last name. So anyway, Bill gives me a call. Bill is relocating to a town near where I was working and needed a property. He got kind of an off-cycle promotion, and it involved him moving to a new territory. So he was actually coming from a couple of states away. So you can imagine his sense of urgency was pretty high. This was the first or second week of December. Not necessarily the ideal time to be looking for or selling a house, but truth number 5, every day is a good day to sell a house. Every day is also a good day to buy a house, by the way, but that's a different topic. So anyhow, to call Bill desperate, fairly accurate. I'm going to say that's pretty good. So we look through, I'm going to say maybe 2 trips. So my typical tours were around 6 or 7 homes. So let's just say somewhere between 6 and 12 homes. It probably wasn't 12 because of the time of year and the narrowness of the area they were looking in. He had to live in a certain place. So we find this house that on the outside, honestly, if you drove by it, you would look at the price and look at the outside of this house and think, somebody missed here. But it's December. So the sellers were sort of the mind that whatever, it's December. We just expect that we're not going to have any showings. All right. So we want to see it because on paper, it meets the criteria. And I'd seen enough homes with them at that point to know that this probably was a good fit. I had been in it. It was listed with my office, but with a different realtor. This was some years back. Anyway, I had checked out the house, so I knew that it was probably going to be a pretty good fit based on the other homes that we'd seen. And so I encouraged them to take a look, even though it was, I'm not sure what the term is, but it was not very attractive on the outside. We'll just leave it at that. Just a weird curb appeal. Anyhow, we get in the house and it checks all the boxes. They love this house. So they end up, because they're under the gun, they end up offering the seller exactly what they're asking for. Now, I had encouraged them as their buyer's agent to maybe do a little negotiating, but they were so afraid, back to, emotions are expensive. They were so afraid that they were going to overpay or They were so afraid they were going to miss this house that they just said, give them whatever they want and we'll make it as easy as possible. We have to be in here in like 35 days. So we got to get moving. All right. So great. Well, they got the house and they loved the house. And 2 years later, Bill gets transferred again. Only this time it's with a different company. So there's no fancy reload package. Well, it's about 2.5 years later. So he's right in prime selling season. And when he goes to sell the house, he's thinking, well, this is great. I've been here a couple of years, didn't really do anything to the house, but just tacked on a bunch of money and decided it was time to sell and that he would get all. And what he found was that it was a tougher sell because it was peak selling season and he had a lot more competition. Plus, he still had the original curb appeal problem. So regardless of the fact that they loved this house, they had good photography and beautiful description, there was just no getting there. As you know, my advice to him was, hey, man, it's overpriced. So, but he didn't feel that way. He felt that, hey, we paid top dollar for this thing. I think we can get top dollar. Now, that's a whole other conversation, which we've had a few times. But the moral of the story is that regardless of the day of the year, the season, the events that are going on, there is everything is relative. Hey, real quick, we don't advertise at the Ohio Property Group. We don't advertise our services. So all of our work is done through word of mouth, through referral, and some SEO, but we don't take out any paid ads. The same is true for this podcast. So if you found it helpful at all, please leave us a review and a rating. It only takes a few seconds, and hopefully it will help spread the word so other home sellers will see this and maybe pick up a few things along the way. Because word of mouth, it's still a thing. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. I'll be right here. So, as a buyer, when you go out on the market in the middle of the holidays, there's not a lot to look at, but there's also very few other buyers that you're competing with, relative. But as a seller, you're in the driver's seat. So I've had a lot of sellers that will call us up in December and say, hey, we're going to take it off the market for the holidays, and then we're going to put it back on the spring. And my advice is universally the same. After I ask a couple of questions, which is usually, is there some other reason driving that? No, we just don't want it to be looking stale in the spring. Well, you want your number, and this is your number. So unless you're willing to come down, that's fine. I would, though, leave it on the market because of the bills of the world. And believe me, there's a lot of bills in the world. When your house is available 2 weeks before Christmas, any buyer that sets up a showing the week or 2 weeks before Christmas is motivated. And a motivated buyer is going to have an emotional response. And if this house is even 85% of what they're looking for, they're going to pull the trigger, and they're probably going to be like Bill, and they're not going to do a lot of haggling because they understand they have very few options and they're the ones under the gun. Nobody casually looks for homes when the snow is flying and when there's Christmas carolers out. Nobody casually looks for homes when it's 20 below. If it's crappy weather, if it's all these reasons why a seller might take the home off. If it's bad weather or bad timing, quote unquote, as a seller, I'm okay with that because I'm trying to sell. And unless I just don't want to be disturbed, maybe I got a lot of guests or something coming for the holidays and I don't want to be disturbed. Okay. But I'm telling you, I think you're missing out on some of the best buyers out there, at least in my 20 some years of experience. Not unusual at all for us to be negotiating during the holidays. Sometimes it's the only time people have off, depending on their job. So you may keep all that in mind. I get that you don't want your house to look stale, but I would also tell you that when everybody else is doing that, you're probably smarter sticking around because you're going to be one of the only people left at the party. Hey, real quick, if I told you that you could save a lot of time, a lot of money, and avoid a whole bunch of headaches the next time you sell, you'd want in, right? Living to Listing is the online course for turning any property into the perfect listing. You'll learn how to eliminate countless problems so it sells faster and for more money. Over the years, we've identified countless problems that seem to always show up and either cost you thousands of dollars or even kill the deal. And as we've learned, the best way to solve those problems is to avoid them altogether by prepping your home the right way. In Living to Listing, you get downloadable checklists and resources for every part of the process, along with short videos from me walking you through every step. And here's my promise. If this course doesn't meet your high standards, let me know and I'll refund you. It's as simple as that. You've got nothing to lose, so head over to livingtolisting.com. That's livingtolisting.com and check out the free preview videos that I've opened up for you. Let me know what you think. The other thing about December buyers or off-season buyers is that they're not nearly as picky about price, about condition, and it's not that they won't do the inspection. They're just going to not be nearly as difficult during that process because they're dying to get in this place. They have a lot more on the line than you do. Unless you're motivated to sell for the same reason, well, then we've got a match made in heaven because everybody's motivated. So we'll definitely get it there. They also understand they don't have a lot of other choices out there. So if they don't choose yours and make it work, then they're going to be renting or they're going to be in some other situation that is not very attractive. They're much more likely to be forgiving. So the point of all this is that there's a balance that happens, that when fewer homes are on the market, your house stands out in a good way. And when lots of homes are on the market, there's a lot more buyers out there relative to your competition. The other reason is that you know what the market is doing right now. So if you're rolling up to a holiday season or a time when you feel the other popular one is back to school. Hey, we're going through all the back to school stuff. So we don't want to have our house in the market because nobody's looking at houses. Wrong. People are looking at houses nearly every day of the year. And if you wait, who knows what's going to happen? Interest rates could do what they do. Multiple homes similar to yours could come on and out of desperation, maybe they sell cheap. Who knows? You can't predict what the market will do. You do know where it is today. So it could be better, but it could be worse when you decide to go back on the market. But if your goal is to sell, and presumably sooner than later, then I would try to sell the house. I wouldn't take it off the market and wait for a better time. Who knows when or if it will ever be a better time than today. Another thing we have to remind sellers a lot about is that the market never actually dies. It ebbs and flows seasonally, especially in Ohio. However, it never completely dies. And that's because life continues in spite of the season, in spite of the calendar. That people die, people get married, people get divorced, people change jobs, like my friend Bill. All sorts of life happens that causes people to have to move. So if your home is not on the market, I promise you, you're missing opportunities with those buyers that are out that are uber desperate. And those are not some buyers you want to miss. So unless you have another reason for taking the property off the market, my theory is you should keep it on the market. And if you're not in a hurry, that's fine. Take your time. We'll cover this in a later episode because you're in the driver's seat. As a seller, you have choices every single day. You can continue selling at your current price if you're not in a hurry. You can take it off the market if you just don't want to sell it right now, but that is the only reason I would take it off the market. Or you can lower your price and do something to try to jumpstart today's buyers. Maybe put it into a new lower price range that will attract one of today's desperate buyers, but we've covered that before. As a seller, you have a few choices. You can leave it on the market at the price it's in, and maybe tomorrow's buyer will come along and give you what you want. You can also invest in the time. Just take your time. You've got the time. If you're not desperate to sell, wait it out. Who knows? And third, if you really don't want to sell it right now, or you've changed your mind, or circumstances are in the way, go ahead and take it off the market. You're in the driver's seat all the time. I just want to bust the myth. I just want to bust that old myth that you have to sell during peak season, because the truth is you don't. And truth number 5, every day is a good day to sell a house. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you got a few things out of today's episode, or at least had a little bit of fun. Before we go, I want to remind you that the Talking Realty Podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned brokerage offering real estate services to all 88 Ohio counties. If today's episode sparked a new idea, or maybe answered a burning question, please don't keep it to yourself. Take a few seconds and rate and review Talking Realty if you haven't already. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. By the way, if there are topics or questions or guests you think that we should have on the show, head over to talkingrealty.com and say hi. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. This is Glen Whitten signing off for the Ohio Property Group. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.